Welcome back to IGN Live at E3. I'm Damon Hatfield, and joining me is Marty Sleva because we are going to talk State of Decay 2 with Jeff Strain. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Lay it on us. Big reveal of State of Decay 2 at the Microsoft conference today.
Yeah, the reveal of the first in-game gameplay footage, yes.
Sure, yeah. We knew this was coming, but this is our first really good look at the game, I think.
That's right.
Yeah, because like we got the announcement last year at the show, right? And then I think we exclusively debuted some sort of in-game concept art from earlier on in the year, but this was a full-fledged, what, 5.5 minutes of, what we're going to be doing in State of Decay 2.
Yeah, the message this year is, hey, the game is real, it's coming together, we still have a ways to go.
Sure.
But, so many people are asking about it that we just, we felt like we really wanted to just get out there and show it and like, yeah, this thing's coming. It's looking good. It's coming together, and the team's excited.
Yeah. I mean, I think both of us were huge fans of, State of Decay 1 back in 2013. Was that right?
Yeah, summer of 2013. I know.
We're all getting very old. So what's the, the biggest change seemingly that you guys have been sort of promoting is the fact that this is now multiplayer.
Yeah, well, I think that's one of the biggest changes. What we did was we looked at the original game. The success of that game really took us by surprise. We'd hoped people would like it, but it just really kind of exceeded our wildest hopes, right?
Yeah.
So we were able to look at it and say, why do people resonate with this game? What do they like? What do they want to see in a sequel? And kind of put aside our preconceived notions about what that should be. And so State of Decay 2 is very much a reflection of what people have asked for and what they've hoped for. Very specifically, it's bigger, badder, bolder. We are deepening the simulation systems. There were a couple hundred character traits in the first. There are over 1,000 combinatoric traits in this one, so a wide range of survivor characters. And they have a direct impact on the simulation in a much more meaningful way than in the original game. Base building options are greatly expanded. The physical size of the world is obviously much larger. And of course, we are putting a lot of time and energy into making the overall experience a lot more smooth, and then yes, add on top of all of that the #1 most requested feature, which was of course co-op multiplayer.
Yeah. I feel like back in 2013, there weren't a ton of games, especially on the console front, that did the sort of base building, crafting, survival aspects. Cut to 4 years later, like that seems like you guys were sort of ahead of the curve when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think so, and still to this day a little bit, right? You just look at the Xbox briefing today, some just beautiful, jaw-dropping games, right? Just amazing experiences. Like as a gamer, I was sitting there really excited. State of Decay 2 is still a little bit of a different drumbeat, right? It's not. You don't find a lot of console games that are focused on that kind of simulation and strategy and kind of depth of the quieter, calmer experience like that.
Does the core game mechanic and goal remain the same, which is to survive and hopefully thrive in this post-apocalyptic world?
Yeah, very much so. I think that the zombie genre is crowded.
Sure.
When we announced the game, a lot of, hey, does the world really need another zombie game? And our thought was, well, yeah, it does, because to us, there are some fantastic zombie games out there, but none of them had really captured that survival fantasy experience, that like you sitting around with your friends and saying, what would you do? What's your plan, right? We really wanted to capture that and give players the ability to do that. I think State of Decay 1 was a good swing at that, especially for the size of team and the resources we had. With State of Decay 2, we're able to take that a lot further.
Sure.
And especially as we look at this and think about what the future could hold, it's always getting closer and closer to that reality, to that fantasy that we want to try to achieve.
What about well, you talk about how cooperative is a big requested feature. So what does that look like now when you start a new game in State of Decay 2? You find 3 friends. What's that like?
Well, we spent a lot of time talking about, what is true to the nature of the game? What's not true to the nature of the game is a big PvP slaughterfest, right? There are some games out there that have permadeath that do a great job of putting you in that kind of high-risk scenario. But that's not what the game is about. The game is about humans working together cooperatively to overcome the zombie menace and survive. And when we listen to our players, that's what they were asking for, co-op. I want to be able to play with my friends. This game begs to be played with my friends. So we really scoped it to that. Like, let's make a game that's great for you to be able to easily jump in and out with your friends, and also to encourage you to meet people and have strangers helping each other. And so we don't have kind of a formal party system. Instead, it is drop in, drop out. You can jump into my game and play with me. I can jump into your game and play with you. The game rewards you quite a bit for working together and overcoming challenges together. But then there's the flare system, which is anytime you're playing and you're in over your head and you need help, shoot your flare. and it will notify anybody who is registered in the game world to be a volunteer, right? And let them know that you need help, and then somebody can jump in and help you in your game.
Ooh, I love that.
Do you have a limited number of flares, or just like one every? Is it based on a time system, or does it regenerate?
You know, I don't know the answer to that.
Interesting.
We've got it in and working, but I don't know what the constraints on it are yet.
Yeah. Interesting.
And I don't think, you know, we can't leave this without talking about the Xbox One X.
Yeah.
Obviously, officially, it's coming out party today. What excites you about that, and sort of, you know, how is that new piece of hardware allowing you guys to really just see your vision of the game from full?
Well, you know, new console hardware is always so exciting, but for developers, especially, you know, smaller developers like us, it's a bit of a kiss curse, because it's, you know, we want to be able to show the game in the highest graphical fidelity and you know, with all the bells and whistles turned on, but traditionally with a new console release you'd be facing a much smaller addressable audience, and that's tough for a developer like us to have to make that choice, right? With Xbox One X, because it is a family of consoles, because our game will run on all of them, it makes that a lot easier and a lot more exciting. Now we can just focus on the cool stuff, and so, you know, we're building in a high degree of scalability so that we're able to take advantage of that additional horsepower to give you a richer, especially on the graphical side, a more rich experience. The first and foremost of which is, of course, full 4K and HDR support.
Yeah, sure.
That's very cool.
In the trailer today, we saw a scene where I think someone got bit, and the team has to make a decision. They have apparently like a cure, but they only have one. They have to decide whether it's worth it to use it or save it. So is that actually a mechanic built into the game?
Absolutely. You know, I was talking earlier about the fact that you have a lot more your base and your community and your bases. We model that a lot more deeply, give you a lot more sophisticated tools, and one of them is kicking people out of your base, and one of them is when you need to make the call, dispatching those people who could wind up being a threat to your community.
Yeah, those you know, the first game you mentioned earlier had those really interesting sort of personal traits and stats that you know, it was math behind the curtains, but I feel like it really sort of delved into what a lot of zombie movies and zombie fiction do, and sort of deal with the personal ramifications of, you know, the post-apocalyptic world is a moral gray area.
That's right.
Is that something you guys want to double down on here?
So that is probably, along with co-op multiplayer, one of the biggest innovations people are going to see, is that, as you point out, there are a lot of different ways to solve problems, some of them very practical, some of them very ethical, and sometimes those two things don't gel, right? And you are often put in the position of you'll have your community people, your survivors in your base will often give you advice, right, based on their personalities and their traits, and you choose whose advice you're going to take, not by clicking a menu that says yes, I'll do what you say, but actually going out and doing it. And over time, that will cause some people to be more irritated with you or like you better, and ultimately result in kind of the how your community is formulated, like who wants to be there, who doesn't want to be there, and you find that it's a very strong reflection of your own, you know, kind of personal thoughts on those matters.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So the people in your party, is it not set? So like, do you have to actually get your friends all together? We're all going to hop online right now.
For multiplayer?
Yeah, for multiplayer.
Yeah, no, you don't. And this is, again, we really like the drop-in, drop-out model. It's just, there's so many more options that it gives us as game designers where we don't have to kind of group people together beforehand. And so you log on to play, and you notice that one of your buddies is playing, you can just hop right in his game and play with him. He can hop right into yours and play with you. Anything that you find there, anything that happens to your character comes back into your world. And so, you know, we just want to make it easy and seamless to play together without a whole lot of setup and a whole lot of structure to it.
Okay, so if I jump into your game, I have to deal with the ramifications of what you've done in the past with the NPCs in the world, but then when I hop back into my game, I have everything that I did in your game, so I'm able to carry my progress over.
That's right.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Sounds super interesting.
Yeah.
State of Decay 2 is coming to Xbox One spring 2018.
That's correct.
Cool. We're excited to see more. Jeff, thank you so much for coming by the show.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.